All right, this is one of my favorite topics, influencers, because sometimes they come in a second, sometimes they come in a lifetime. Um, but we probably have many. I always, when I speak, talk about my grandfather being a first influencer. He and my grandmother, and my mom, man, came from Kiev when they were younger and in Canada. And I remember him taking me for walks in the park when I was five. And really quick, I asked him once, I call him Zeta, how do you know all these people? And he said, well, one day I smiled at this person over there, and he came over and smiled at me, and then we started laughing. And then another person came over and smiled at us, and we started learning stuff we hadn't learned before, and this and that. We started doing stuff together. And I thought to myself as a 5 year old, well, that's pretty cool. So easy to make friends, and you were feeling better because of it, and and whatnot. I wasn't thinking influencer, but I was thinking this is pretty cool. And then getting older, you realize even a smile can physiologically and psychologically change something. So many influencers, I'm sure, but can you share two or three that have influenced your life?
Okay, so the first one is Verna Wilkins. She was my next door neighbor. She was I lived in a white bread Tory stronghold in the UK, and she was the only black woman in town. And she set up England's first publishing company for black children, for multicultural children. She showed disabled children. She showed stories like that. She was absolutely incredible. She was an amazing force. And in fact, Carol Russell, who I wrote the book with, when I first met her, I made the white girl mistake of saying, "Do you know my black friend?" And her, Carol said, "My eyes were about to roll out the top of my head when you were saying it." And then the word Verna Wilkins came out of my mouth, and Carol just went, "You are kidding me." Yes, I know Verna Wilkins. And there's been this lovely synchronicity that like Verna was my mum's best friend, and now Carol is my best friend. We actually wrote our book Invisible to Invaluable together. So not only was she an influence in my teenage years, but it's almost like we've cloned the relationship she had. It feels like we've continuing a conversation that's been going on for 45 years. So she was very, very much so.
That's
Um,
beautiful.
my second influencer was a man called Christin Munger. Christin was my creative director at Ogilvy and Mather in Sydney. And in 1990, he had a 50-50 male and female creative department. Never before and never since have I seen it. It was like really quite incredible. And
Wow.
he just supported me. It was like he not only believed in me, he pushed me. He was incredible. And the last one that I sadly learned had passed away this week is a man by the name of Jack Vaughan. And Jack was the greatest living copywriter in us, or the greatest copywriter ever in Australia. He was like the most magical human being. I learned how to write from him. But I also learned so much humanity from him. And in an industry where there are so many assholes, he was a true, true gentleman. We actually created the James Squire brand together. And again, when I set up my agency, when we created James Squire, it was in his consultancy. And when I set up my agency, he went, "No, you take the account. You deserve it. It will start up your business." And so, I wouldn't, in a competitive environment, that company would, "No, you can't take it. It's ours." And he was like, "No, we've got the big client. We've got the big client, the parent client. This is a tiny little brewery. It's too small for us. But you go and take it and build something amazing with it." So, I think they're the three people that Werner inspired me to see something wrong, do something about it. If you see something that's not right in the world, go do something. And she taught me about stories. Kristen taught me that I was good. It was like everybody else that was saying I wasn't because I was a girl. He was saying I was good. It was like a really, just helping me build my career. And then Jack taught me how to write, just an absolute gentleman. So yeah, they're the three that have inspired me the most.
Yeah, it's funny how influencers create legacy. Basically, you keep continuing and continuing them. They go on forever, and you can tell who are leaders who care. Didn't hog the account, gave the account because it was the right thing to do. Knew that you would, and as a result, trusts you and believes in you at the same time. That's true leadership, not someone that tries to hang on to everything and power and whatnot. So Those are amazing. And you know what else it tells us is that we're influencing people all the time also. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't. So we have the choice of being positive or not. And it seems like an easy choice, and that should be an easy choice anyway. So thanks for sharing those. They're really great.
Pleasure.